I think boundaries can be perceived a couple different ways, right? Sometimes boundaries, we think of it like, you know, I'm going to create a boundary because I don't like the way you're treating me, which is valid, right? If someone's talking down to you and you say, hey, the way you're talking to me is really kind of not feeling good in my body, and they don't hear it, they keep continuing. There are going to be times where you say, you know, I need to excuse myself. Maybe, you know, maybe I can talk to you later, maybe next lifetime. How about we hook up 5 lifetimes from now? Maybe that'll be good. But really, you know, what I think of boundaries as a deeper invitation, because the ego that feeds itself on specialness will use boundaries like a form of karate. Like someone takes one karate class and they're like looking for someone to throw a kick, like, oh, I can't wait to go in horse dance and I can't wait to block or whatever and do some whatever. But, you know, boundaries. Boundaries, I think, can be thought of in a very humble way. So boundaries let us know when what energy we're giving is starting to deplete the energy we need for our own well-being. Like, you know, I'm driving on this trip. I think it's my time to go to the gas station and refill. Maybe that's some alone time, some spaciousness, some presence. And boundaries is really the first sign of it is, hey, I think I'm getting to that point where I'm either exhausted, tired, or I have little to give and I need to start replenishing myself. I think life is telling me this interaction is, it's time for me to go focus on self-care. And then at a deeper level, the boundary is, I'm going to create a boundary and take space from this person because I'm being aware of what version of myself is coming to the surface. And if it's less than my highest integrity, I'm going to remove myself from the situation because I only want to demonstrate my highest ideals, ethics, integrity. So I'm noticing, like if I'm at a family function, and this doesn't happen as much anymore, if I'm at a family function, I'm starting to feel impatient, doing a lot of listening. People aren't asking me a lot of questions. People are starting to annoy me. Their energy is starting to kind of affect me. That means that I've spent enough time in an environment where I'm aware that my level of conduct is starting to lower. So I'm going to create a boundary to give myself the self-care that I need so that whenever I'm around other people, I do my best to represent my highest ethics and values because that's my service of what I want to demonstrate to the world. The world is a game of follow the leader. So what I demonstrate is what I hope for the world to reflect back to me. And if I notice that I'm not able to hold that space, I might get triggered, I might get agitated, then what do I need in the name of self-care? What do I need that I don't have to rely on other people to give me? What do I need? Probably space, probably alone time, maybe time to write in my journal, maybe take a walk in nature. So can I give myself what I need? You know, there is a reality to I need boundaries from people who act inappropriately, but it's not as often as people think. Most of the time, boundary is like children who want to keep playing. The teacher knows it's time for nap time, and the kids don't want to nap even though they need it. They want to keep playing. And so boundaries are, I give myself the rest that I need so that I can always be the greatest version of myself in the presence of other people. And I always have the ability to receive the gifts that other people are demonstrating to me in full awareness or consciousness. So boundaries are really about making sure that a life of desire is balanced with the importance of self-care. It's not always the spiritual karate against narcissists. There aren't that many narcissists in this planet. Everyone's waking up in different ways, but it's actually about making sure that I'm always advocating for what I need and not getting lost in my interactions and expectations of others.
That's beautiful. I think it's such a good frame for, you know, I sometimes say that, like, we don't just need self-love, but to realize our self is love.
I love that.
And I think you're speaking to really the importance of the self that does need space to have the self-care, to acknowledge where you've overextended or the intolerance of the people around you, or it's just not, you know, going to negatively affect you and your ability to live in your own overall well-being, and cultivating at the same time a beautiful tolerance and patience. I don't think tolerance is quite the right word, but cultivating a beautiful patience and the eyes of compassion and understanding to be able to be in the presence of somebody who has pain, who is through their actions displaying that pain in a myriad of different ways it can manifest, and to still see through to the truth of who someone is.
Right.
And that is really beautiful. That's a truly graceful individual. And I really love the energy of grace.
Yes.
And I feel that from you. And I would love for you to reflect on grace and cultivating the eyes of compassion and understanding.
I love that. So what comes to me, what was coming to me when you were talking, and I just love this conversation so much, is that the misstep people have is they go, if I realize that I'm the divine, whether I have had that realization or I read that in a book and I just kind of took that on, if I'm the divine, shouldn't my energy be infinite? I don't need boundaries. And that's an ego trip. That's a huge ego trip. So because the divine is staying true to itself as a person. So even though you are a being that is connected to infinite energy, you are still, the body is still a vehicle that is using energy, depleting itself of energy, needs to be refilled, because that's what creates the humility along with the transcendence. Humility and transcendence together creates an energy I call grace. But just as an analogy, we were talking about boundaries before, we think of it as like, oh, each human experience we have is a certain expenditure of energy. So the energy is like a bank account, and the expenditure of that energy is like writing a check. And if you write a check for more than an amount you have in your account goes negative. So one of the reasons people are negative is that their ego wants to be and benefit from a moment they don't have the funds in their account to cover.
I love that.
And so when we become grace, we are being the divine, we are infinite, we are eternal, but we are also respecting the experience of being in the physical body, and we're able to keep a balanced checkbook. Because again, if you look at the world and you think it's too much of an illusion, you're not going to respect all of the nuances. Like, oh, I don't keep my account in the positive because this world's an illusion and money's not real. But see, that's like then we're like overreaching. Then we're like missing the point of being here. Like if you're at Disneyland and you go, that's not really Mickey Mouse. That's just a 17-year-old dressed in a costume. But you're in the magical kingdom. You're in the park, right? You're here. So I think grace is where we say, I'm fully aware that I am an infinite, eternal being. I also respect that I'm having an experience of being in a body where experiences are temporary. What begins is only beginning to end. And I am an infinite being learning to be mindful with my energy based on how it ebbs and flows. And to be true to the fact that I may not always be in a place for certain experiences, or certain experiences are better to have later than now. And can I start to notice the difference between honoring my ego and its desires and not ignoring them, but also knowing how I balance that with self-care? One of the differences between adults and children is that adults know what they need and the difference between a need and a want. And children think their wants are their needs. And so when we are grace, we have woken up. We are always growing up as we are waking up. And we are willing to honor the temporal experience of body as a celebration of the eternal being within it. We have both sides balanced. We're not too much this, we're not too much that, and we're not oversimplifying it, going, oh, I'm the divine, I should be able to handle everything. Fine, I'll adopt 1,000 cats, put them in my house. I'm the divine, I could do it all. That's where the ego is kind of impersonating divinity. So part of the mesmerizing balance is that the divine will create what seems like limitations only to have structure within lives, because structure creates focus and it creates balance. And so we're these infinite beings, but so infinite that we can commit to the structure of being in body and world so that there's a framework and a focus to shining our light and watching our light change form and up-level reality for the experience we're having in this training program. So I think grace is transcendence and humility combined.